but okay, there it is.
Oh, there we go. I just saw the record.
Okay, here we go. So, welcome to our holiday webinar. This is about how to find joy in the holiday with divorce. My name is Holly Severson, and this is Janie Henley. We are the co-founders of Grace Untethered, and we are super excited to get to be able to be here to present this today. So one of the things that you might want to know about us is that we are both therapists. We've been therapists for decades and worked with people over the years to deal with these sorts of issues. And we just both in the last 5 years or so have gone through divorces ourselves. And so not only do we have the professional experience, but we have the personal experience to go along with it that kind of helps us have a different perspective. And we kind of were each other's support during our divorce processes, which makes it really special that we get to do this business together and be here with you. So we have recently just finished recording an e-course that's going to be available starting today. You're getting the first notice of it. And it is called Stagger, Stumble, and Stand. It's a 5-class e-course on divorce and a lot about things to do with helping your nervous system with divorce and some of the adjustments that you need to make in your thinking, in how you feel, your coping strategies, all of that. So welcome.
Just getting some good coping tools along the way to kind of help you manage it. Yeah. So welcome. As Holly said, I'm Janie. And I guess one of the first things that we want to say is we're really glad that you're joining us. And we're also really, I know that this is a tough time.
Yeah.
And so we want to just acknowledge that if you're watching this, you're probably in some pain. And I guess the message that we'd like to give you is you don't have to go through it alone. And we're really glad that you're kind of joining us today so we can help you with some ideas on how to manage the holidays, because this is big stuff.
Yeah. And I think along with that, Janie, I want to say that it's not just the stuff that we're going to talk about today isn't just about divorce or separation. I mean, I think it would apply to a lot of different life circumstances because, what I really realized as I went through divorce is that divorce so much is about grief. It is about loss. And I think that's why the holidays are such a painful and challenging time for people in general, regardless of their relationship status.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And, we've had good memories with it. And so that loss is going to come up. And it's also really important for us to know that we can take some of those good memories, and at the same time, we can begin to create new ones and new traditions. Because whenever we're experiencing loss or a death, we can really ask ourselves, okay, what will emerge from this? What is the part of me that will emerge from this wiser, kinder,
Right.
and more liberated?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of touches on another point that I think is so important is that it feels like this is, kind of life consuming maybe right now. And you may be having trouble with sleeping, you're feeling foggy, and everything in your life gets harder when you're not sleeping well. And, this is all a temporary transition, that it takes
It
some
doesn't
time.
feel really
It does not.
temporary when you're going through it, man. It's hard.
It's
Yeah.
really hard. It's really
Uh-huh.
hard. So,
Yeah.
but hang in there. And like Janie said earlier, you don't have to do it alone. We've got a community that we want to help support, and we've had a lot of interaction from a lot of people in situations just like ours, just like yours, maybe.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, we just had a question come in about that idea of just really kind of obsessively thinking and trying. It's hard to believe that this is going to be a temporary time. This person said, I can't stop thinking about her with another person. When I hear romantic songs, I wonder if they're with the other person and maybe saying the same things that they said to me. So,
Yeah.
you know, it a part of what we're going through is our brain is severely traumatized, especially if
Yeah.
there's a new person in the picture.
Yeah.
And so when the brain is traumatized, it goes to high alert. It has, what do you say in the video? What do you talk about with that?
Well, that we're in fight and flight. I mean,
Uh-huh.
our bodies are designed to protect themselves. And
Hmm.
when we feel threatened, and certainly a change in your relationship status is threatening to your body's safety, to your mental health, to your emotional
Hmm.
health, to your family's health. And so, yeah, you're in fight or flight, and our bodies are trying to protect themselves. And grieving is complicated.
Hmm. Yeah.
You can get caught up really easily in that idea that, your partner's moved on, that there's somebody else in the picture. You can get lost in all of the comparisons and why wasn't I
Right.
enough?
Right.
And,
Hmm.
how could I have done this differently? But
Right. And that obsessive looping where you can't stop thinking about something and you just, sorry, I don't mean to make you sick by going back and forth like that,
you
but it
kind of
really
are.
is, I know exactly that looping, it's really
Yeah.
a form of flight that your brain is kind of taking you back to then and trying to
Yeah.
keep you safe. So a nice tool for that is it's a brain looping exercise that we really go into a lot more depth in our class, but what we do is it's a way to lift the needle off of the groove that keeps obsessing, because again, it's trying to either take you back or it takes you forward and keeps you out of the moment. So we want
Right.
to get you grounded in this moment. So if you find that you're looping and you can't get away from that thought, start with naming types of cars or naming
Yeah.
colors or naming cities, states. That's one way. Another is to get in your body, do a body scan, feel your butt on the chair, feel
Get
your
physically
hands on the
grounded.
desk.
Right.
Yeah, physically grounded.
Hmm.
Um, that's another really nice tool. I feel my hands on the steering wheel. I see the leaves on the tree.
Hmm.
Just I count backwards from 100, just little things like that to kind of distract your brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I think grounding exercises are really helpful. And another thing is to just recognize that you need to shift gears. Like, I think for me, that I would be 30 minutes or an hour into some rumination before I even realized for a long time I was doing it. And so once you begin to realize it and watch for it, then you might get some tools that work well for you. And it might be something like a grounding exercise, or it might be, distracting yourself with something you enjoy,
Yeah.
or,
And
you know,
again, rumination, just the therapy speak, rumination means obsessive thinking.
yes, thank you. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
right. Good point.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
obsessively thinking about things, I think some part of our brain thinks, oh, you're going to fix it if you think about it, or I can prevent this from happening to me again.
Hmm.
And that's what Janie means by getting in that groove. You just play it and play it again, looking for how could this go differently? But
Yeah.
it's not productive, and it makes us anxious. It makes us depressed.
Hmm.
And I think we're better off if we can interrupt that groove and kind of shift gears.
Yeah.
Another tool that
Yeah.
I really like is using something like a guided meditation, like you said, a body scan. Having somebody guide you through tuning into your body and getting out
Right.
of your head.
Right.
So,
Okay, we've got
yeah.
another question. We just got a load of questions coming in, so we'll try to address as many as we can in the time that we have. Um, I really liked my in-laws and how we celebrated with them. It's not fair that I have to give them up too.
Yeah.
Is there any way around this? Do you have any ideas about that?
That is really hard, especially the first holiday. You know, when you've had so much change and you don't know, you don't have any other normal yet. And
Right. And you're
so,
not divorcing them.
right. But it does feel that way. And I think a lot of families struggle with, how do I support
Mhm.
this couple? And how, you know, even if you're very attached to your in-laws, if things aren't great between you and your ex puts his foot down and says, you don't get to have my family, or tells the family you don't get to be involved, I mean, what do you do about that? You know, you don't
Yeah.
have a whole
And
lot
no,
to say.
even if they are involved and you like them, it's just going to be awkward.
It's painful.
And there's no, I think, self-compassion is so important.
Yeah.
Just the idea of holding your hand over your heart and saying, it makes sense that this hurts. It makes
Right.
sense that this is awkward. And just
Mhm.
that move and talking to yourself compassionately gives you a little hit of oxytocin. Not,
Right.
I mean, it's not going to change your world, but it's just like if you can just say, makes total sense that this is awkward.
Right. Yeah, and I think it is normal that it's awkward, and it's just a time period. I think, you know, you have 1 year of doing something different and developing some new ways of being in the holidays, and then you begin to have new traditions. But
Mhm,
it does,
mhm,
you know, definitely that first holiday is really painful.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. So, there are other ways that you can connect with that family, with a holiday card, with a holiday phone call.
Mhm.
But there's no way. I so wish I had some magic pill or magic wand to have that not be painful. But
Right.
that is loss.
Yeah.
So work with as much self-compassion as you can to take good care of yourself before or after the phone call.
Mhm.
Have other people around you that are loving and nurturing, and know that, honor the grief,
Yeah.
honor the trauma.
And allow yourself to feel it, even though it's painful, because that's how you
Yeah.
heal. And I also
Mhm.
think you look for moments of joy. You know, there will be
Yeah.
moments of joy even in your darkest times. There will be things that
Mhm.
do bring you joy, and if you can tune into those, it helps you balance out that kind of grieving loss that you're
Yeah.
feeling.
Right. No matter how brief those moments are. Um, One of the things that helped me is realizing, and I knew this, but I just knew it differently, is realizing how many different kinds of love there is. So,
Yeah.
for instance, when you're grieving their family so deeply, perhaps you also get to have a family of choice.
Right.
And, you know, even when it came to, Schwarmy Christmas music that would, I'd start, if I had to hear, what's that Christmas song with Mariah Carey? All I Want for Christmas If You. If I had to hear
Yeah.
that thing one more time, I was just going to, So what I wound up doing is, can't really say what I was
I was
really
going to
wanting
say,
to
what
do.
was that you were going to do?
Probably not, that's not to use those words,
Yes.
but the idea that you can replace that person who you were married to, and obviously for my situation it was over 30 years, so it's pretty hard, but on the other hand, there's different kinds of love of putting my children's face in, that I want to be with you for Christmas, or
Right.
my dog or my neighbor that
Right.
dropped off roses, or there's just all different kinds of love. I wanted to show this. One year we gave the post lady holiday cookies,
Hmm.
and she wound up giving us these things that she
Oh,
crocheted,
sweet.
and it was so sweet, and it was just one of those things that I kind of locked onto, that just a tiny moment of joy, right? Not
Yeah.
to minimize the
Yeah.
extreme pain that folks go through,
Right.
but when you do that, you give the brain a little negative or a little positive neural pathway, so
Yeah.
that it's not always spiraling in the darkness.
Let me read another question here. Every
Sure.
time I think about the holidays, I start crying. And I don't want to freak my kids out, but I can't help it. What should I do?
Mm. Mm.
It's a good
Bless
one.
her heart.
Those
Yeah.
are hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Do you have
Go for it.
ideas? No, go
Yeah,
for it.
you go. You go. Okay, you go. Okay. So again, I think you have to honor the grief, and
Mm,
so create spaces that you can really weep.
yeah.
And it's hard when you have family around you that it may, like if with children, it may not be appropriate for you to share your grief at that level. So create what I mean by creating space is even if you are you hop in the shower and just let it rip for
Yeah.
half hour, 45 minutes, so that you have brief periods then that you can hold it together.
Yeah.
But when I say hold it together, I don't mean that you're still not sad and
Mhm,
sharing that with your family. You don't want
mhm.
to model that ignoring grief.
Right.
So so it might be okay that, this holiday season, instead of baking a huge meal, we're going to climb in bed and watch Elf,
Yeah.
or we're going to put a puzzle together. That,
Right.
something that will distract you. If you have a whole day of movies, um, this is also a time that we get to say, I'm not feeling well.
Right.
I
Yeah.
need to rest.
Right.
Because guess what? Your kids need that rest too, because they're feeling this trauma. So the resting, nurturing, distracting, those, and at the same time talking about it as much as is age appropriate. And generally that is about the age of the child. So, they can't hold on to it for too long because it's just too much.
Right. Right. It's a good point.
Mhm, mhm, yeah. And um, self-compassion, the
Oh,
teaching them to be compassionate with themselves as well, because there's still a stigma out there that they don't want their friends to know about it and all of that, and just be really gentle with yourselves and with them.
well, as much
Mhm,
as we as adults feel out of control with divorce in the process, kids get it
mhm.
tenfold because they really
Uh-huh.
have so little control.
Mhm.
And, they're then, worried and frustrated by having to move to two different homes or change neighborhoods completely if you're unable to keep your home. There's just so many ways they have to adapt. And if one of their parents starts dating, then there's that, maybe potentially other kids in the picture. I mean, it goes on, and kids have so
Right. And
little
so
control.
they're thinking of that stuff. Yeah, you're right. They're thinking about that stuff. And it's so easy for them to catastrophize. We really go into looking at your thinking in our course in a
Yeah.
big way, because catastrophizing and magnifying is a really big deal. But,
Mhm.
something that is worthy of note, for ourselves as well as our children, is our nervous system doesn't know the difference between reality and the imagination. So a lot of times with kids, it's like, well,
Yeah.
let's think about what we're going to do for next year. Let's think about what we're going to have at the dinner table, or let's see what just kind of work with your imagination, because a lot of times that can just soothe things a little bit. And again, lift the needle off of the looping that fear,
Yeah.
fear that this is going to happen again and again repeats.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. We have a lot more questions.
Oh, okay. We
You want to
probably
read
just
them?
have time for about two more, I think. We'll do this again, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Oof,
So
that's a tough one.
I feel like I'm bipolar. One minute I'm so sad that we're apart and I wonder why we couldn't figure it out. And the next I'm so mad at myself for staying this long and kidding myself. I
Whew.
resonate. I resonate with that. I
Yeah,
think,
you got about a couple of hours here to chat that
yeah,
one up.
especially like in my case and maybe yours too, Janie, where you have a really long relationship that was the bulk of our adult lives. And there is a lot of sadness. There's a lot of good, happy memories mixed in there with the sad ones and the hard ones. And it's just a confusing mess of emotion at times. And we, again, the nervous system is protecting us, and so we have an interaction with our ex or soon to be ex that's aggravating and upsetting, and we're angry and we're ready to fight because we're in, protection mode. And then you hear a old song on the radio that was your song, or you have some sort of experience that hooks you with those other emotions, and it's like, wait a second, now I'm sad. It's like, how could I be angry 5 minutes ago and now I'm sad? But this is just part of that normal process that we go through with our emotions with grieving. So anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Well, and I think another part of, going through this at the holidays is, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There were lots of reasons that you stayed together for as long as you did,
Right.
and some nice memories.
Mhm.
And your system may be catastrophizing to try to keep you safe. There's a reason for that it's just wanting to flash on the negative, and that's okay. I mean, we recognize that our body is saying, this is what we have to do to keep you safe. Stay away, stay away. It's trying to keep us with less pain.
Right.
So you want to honor that, but at the same time, to say, as the nice thing about the holidays is it's right at the end of the new year, or I guess it's really a part of the holidays.
Yeah.
But to look at that and to say, okay, when I look at that relationship, what parts of it do I want to harvest,
Yeah.
and what parts of it do I want to compost?
Yeah. Right.
Like, what have I learned, and how will I move forward with the parts that I really want to harvest and grow? And that's why I do think it's so important to do some of this work.
Mhm.
Whether you're a people pleaser, whether you're an avoider, that there's a piece about really going in and doing some of the work to look at your thinking, to look at your coping skills. So as you do move into the new year, that you really can harvest the best part of you,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That I heard a quote the other day that I loved that said, the glass isn't half empty, or no, I'll probably bastardize it. You know me. That it's along the lines of that the people who say the glass is half empty or half full are missing the point. The glass is refillable,
Oh, that's
right?
great. I love that.
Isn't it? It just
Yeah.
blew me away, because we can move forward. We
Yeah.
can have other relationships.
Yeah.
We just want to learn, uh, and grow ourselves. So,
Well, and I just want to say too that this is one way that we can, we're different than a lot of other programs or programs out there for dealing with divorce and coping. I see a lot of stuff on Instagram and Facebook, but not very many of them are focused on the positives and helping you grow. It's part of why we named our business Grace Untethered, because we both felt that it was so important to grow through this with grace and to stand with integrity. And that's kind of what we pride ourselves in is,
mhm.
it's easy to get down in the muck and point fingers and be ugly and be reactive. It's not so easy to hold yourself accountable, to grow, and to develop something new that's hopeful. Like you said, like let's get into the future.
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah, because that sarcasm and snarkiness and all of that, I mean, that's just unprocessed grief. And
Yeah.
if you don't deal with it, it's just gonna control way too much of your life. Okay, we just got a bunch of more questions, but I really think maybe we'll just take one more, two. What do you think, Holly?
One or two. Let's see how long we go.
Okay, all right. Okay, the one that just came in is, well, two. My partner has lost their job. They're asking me for money for the holidays to buy gifts, but I'm not sure if they'll just drink it away or buy a gift for their girlfriend. But
Mm.
on the other hand, I want them to have a gift from their dad. What do I do? Whew.
Those things are so hard. Those things are
Yeah.
so hard. And I think, our instinct often is to, again, protect ourselves. And that means, say, well, tough luck, that's your problem. Now the kids get to see who you really are. But, I think the bigger challenge is to figure out what's best for your kids and,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
what somebody does with what generosity you give is really none of your business.
Oh God, it
If you,
just breaks my heart though. That's a tough situation to be in.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think your point is very good, Holly. That if you have the means to give a modest amount, and what happens with it is out of your control. And boy,
Right.
welcome to the divorce process. There
Yeah,
is so much that you are out of that you don't have control over,
right.
and we go into this quite a bit in the course, is when you have times where you don't, where I have no control over this, then you ask yourself, okay, what do I have control over?
Yeah.
And that is your integrity, what comes out of your mouth. If you you know can share whatever you can feel good about, then go ahead and do that, and then you have to just let go.
Yeah, right.
Mhm. uh, but boy, that's a hard one.
Mhm.
Okay, our last question. I'm so exhausted. I really don't know if I can keep it together and do the traditional dinner and stuff on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
you want
hard.
to take that?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I think it's, doing the traditional stuff is a mixed blessing. I mean, I think there are, in some ways, it does provide you some comfort to have the normal kind of holiday, but it also reminds you of all the things that have changed and what's missing. And I think it's important, really important to keep track of your own level of self compassion and self care,
Right.
because, it's nobody expects you to handle this perfectly. Nobody expects you to be Superwoman, Superman.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think that doing what feels right to you, doing what feels like you're giving the holiday the importance that you want to give it, but yet also allowing yourself, to scale it back a bit, or to change things up to keep you from having to have the grief so present and in your face. That's all good too.
Yeah. I guess the point I want to make here though is that honestly, I was so broken that first holiday that I didn't know what was right for me. I
Yeah.
didn't know what was good for me. I
Yeah.
was just a broken soul.
Mm.
And um, I guess what I would say is, when in doubt, go overboard on self-compassion.
Yes.
so
Yeah. That's a good
so
one.
like if you normally do a big meal and there's not a chance, and there's just not a chance that you're going to be able to pull it off,
Mhm.
order it from
Yeah.
a restaurant or from the grocery store.
Right.
Just, this is the
Give
season
yourself a
of
break.
giving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Give
it's
to
the
yourself.
season of giving. So guess what?
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. And if it feels like you're being selfish, and if it feels like you're overindulging, that is a good sign.
Yeah.
That it
Right.
might be really uncomfortable for you, but that is a good sign if you can get stuff ready made to go. Same things with, wrapping presents, or you don't have to send Christmas cards to half the free world like you used to. It's okay to just give yourself a break and make as many holiday cookies. There's this crazy thing called a bakery, you
Yes.
know? So
Right.
it's the gift of giving, or the season of giving. Start with yourself.
Right.
And like I said, if you're feeling selfish or overindulgent, those are good signs. We like that.
We do. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
good self care.
So I guess in conclusion, and I know that there are several more questions, but we are going to do some weekly sessions. Probably not till the new year now, but that will be fairly soon.
Mhm.
Um, and I guess the other thing that I would say is, when in doubt and you're in pain, go outside.
Yeah.
Uh,
Nature. Mhm.
Nature, because really nature knows how to heal us.
Mhm.
And our job a lot of times is just to get out of the way.
Yeah.
So if you're, and you can do that with children, you can do that with relatives, where if you don't want to talk about something, if you're walking, you can talk about the tree, the flowers, the snow, the whatever, the sidewalk.
Mhm.
But when you're in nature, that peace, that whatever energy
Mhm.
created that magnificent tree is the same energy that created you.
Yeah.
And you see a tree limb drop off in a storm, and be damned if there's not all kinds of beauty that comes from that.
Right.
So nature knows how to heal us. So that's a readily available tool. No matter what, just throw on a coat and boots or whatever and get out there and move and appreciate the magnificence of healing
It's a good
that
point.
nature offers.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. All right. Well,
Yeah.
so hopefully you've gotten some helpful tips from this, and we are so glad you joined us today. We look forward to working with you in the future.
Can I say one more thing here? So some of the tips we covered were the grounding,
Mm.
where you just start talking about different
Naming things.
naming things and getting in your body.
Mhm.
Another thing we talked about is just radical self-compassion.
Mhm.
And we didn't really get into boundaries, but that is
Right.
the idea of we do that in a big way in the class, but
Yeah.
that's the idea of taking care of yourself no matter
Right.
what.
Right.
Hmm.
Also in the
Yeah.
course, we cover a lot about breathing, which we didn't talk much about today, but how
Yeah.
important the
Uh-huh.
breath is in controlling our nervous systems. And
Right. Right.
there's a
Right.
lot of great tools in there.
Hmm. Yeah. And one more thing is, if you've got a lot of junk in your head that you're trying to manage, write it out, journal.
Mhm.
So those 4 points we'll leave you with. Just wanted to make sure that we reviewed those tools.
All
Yeah.
right.
So thanks very much for joining us. And we hope that it can work out for you to check out our class, because um, it's just how's that for a
Yeah.
selling point? It's just really good stuff
We've been
about
working
really
hard. Yeah.
helping you manage all
Yeah.
of the stuff that this creates, that the havoc, that how it wreaks in your soul,
All
in your
right.
brain, in your heart. So
All right. Take care.
bye-bye.